Viewer note: this story is purely fictional and intended for entertainment purposes only. However, some content may be disturbing to certain audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Chapter 8: The Arrival of the Fifth Horseman. It was September 30th, 2026. The air inside the United Nations General Assembly Hall felt heavy. So heavy, it almost felt like you could wring it out like a wet rag. Massive chandeliers cast cold, white light from the dome above, making the wooden floor gleam with a dull, lifeless sheen. Delegates from every nation sat in their assigned seats. Some frowned. Some had their arms crossed tightly. Some scribbled notes furiously in their notebooks. But most of them just sat in silence. The emergency session had been going on for hours, and the only topic on the table? What to do with the ruins and the power vacuum left behind after the total disappearance of Hexagon Nation. On the screens behind the podium, images played on loop. The land that had once been a nation, now just scorched earth, crumbled buildings, absolute stillness, no smoke from chimneys, no cars on roads, not even a single bird in the sky. It was a place that had been swallowed whole by nuclear disaster, by plague, and by something else, something no one could yet name. And now, it had become the most bizarre blank zone in modern history. The situation, came a voice, can't be dragged out any longer. It was the delegate from Olive Nation. He stood slowly. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the low hum of the chamber clear and sharp.
The crimes against humanity committed by the government of Hexagon Nation have long been internationally recognized,
he said, eyes scanning the room.
Now, the land that was emptied by their extinction, it should rightfully go back to its original owners.
He paused. Let the weight of that sentence settle.
I, on behalf of the people of Olive Nation, formally propose the revocation of the 1947 UN Resolution 181.
A low ripple of movement passed through the room.
The territories once occupied by Hexagon Nation, including its core lands and surrounding regions, must be returned in full to the people of Olive Nation,
he continued.
The International Assembly will assist us in rebuilding our nation and government.
His gaze swept over the delegates of other nations, those whose lands had also been taken by force.
And the territories stolen from your countries must be returned as well.
The moment those words left his mouth, it was like dropping a spark into a powder keg. The delegate from Starland shot to his feet. The representative from Mizi Nation stiffened instantly, face tightening like he'd been expecting this. Ridiculous, Starland's delegate said, voice low, measured, every word clearly calculated. We oppose this kind of emotional reckoning. He slowly adjusted the mic in front of him, buying time, putting pressure. The disappearance of a sovereign nation is a tragedy, but maintaining international order requires reason, not emotion. His gaze swept the room, tone softening, but the weight behind it growing heavier. The overseas population of Hexagon Nation remains massive. Their financial networks, their economic ties, they are still critical to the stability of global finance and trade. To abruptly revoke historical resolutions, to violently carve up inherited assets, it will only create more chaos and unnecessary backlash. He paused just for a beat, and that pause, it landed like a warning shot. Because, in truth, over the past few weeks, that so-called unnecessary backlash had already begun. A subway explosion here, a mysterious fire at a Far Eastern port, unusual market fluctuations near Starland and Mizi financial hubs, scandals erupting among royalty and business elites, private bank accounts mysteriously hacked or drained. And behind it all, a name lingered in the shadows, the remnants of Hexagon Nation. Their main base was gone, but their teeth, still sharp. Stability? Came a voice from the back. It belonged to a delegate from a small African nation. His tone dripped with sarcasm. You mean the kind of stability built on invasion and oppression? He asked. Or the kind propped up by special treatment in global financial markets? He looked around the room, voice rising steadily. We're sick of that so-called stability. Their people are still shooting at us out there. Their money is still wrecking our countries. What we want today isn't revenge for the past. It's stopping what's happening right now. And taking back what was stolen? His words lit a fire in the room. One by one, More voices rose in support of Olive Nation's proposal. Delegates from nations long suppressed by Hexagon Nation's political and economic influence stood to speak, listing decades of bullying, exploitation, and unfair trade practices. The opposition, clustered around Starland and Mizi, tried to fight back, but their voices sounded smaller now, more isolated, weaker. Then came the vote. The massive electronic tally board lit up. Green lights, red lights, flashing back and forth, like some silent battle being fought in real time. The delegates from Starland and Mizi stared at the screen, their faces growing darker by the second. When the final count appeared, the motion had passed overwhelmingly. For a few seconds, there was nothing but silence. Then, from the Olive Nation delegation, a low cheer broke out. Someone even wiped at their eyes, quietly.
"Very well," said the Assembly President, bringing the gavel down hard. Clang. Resolution 180. 1 is hereby revoked. The United Nations will immediately establish a joint coordination task force to assist the people of Olive Nation in establishing their new government, rebuilding their nation, and overseeing the return of all occupied territories.
He looked around the room, then his tone shifted cold, sharp, like the calm before a storm. At the same time, the room held its breath.
This assembly has also passed a second resolution, establishing a special international military tribunal. Its mission: to investigate, prosecute, and try every single war crime, crime against humanity, act of genocide, and act of aggression committed by Hexagon Nation and its global affiliates from the world wars to the present day. No exceptions.
The room went completely still. Even those delegates who had been shouting just moments ago, their faces twisted just for a moment into something unreadable, a stiffness, a chill. They all knew. The net was closing. Everywhere. And maybe, just maybe, that wasn't the fourth horseman. Maybe that was something else entirely. Maybe this was the true arrival of the fifth horseman. Not plague, not war, not famine, not death, but justice and the end of an old world.